Welcome back, friends. Woo! Another midnight Vollock. Instant reaction. Vols 17, Kentucky 13. In a word, that was ugly. UGLY. We ain't got no alibi. It's ugly. Oh my gosh. But I didn't give up. I didn't pack it in. After the Vols let the Wildcats, you spotted them a 13-point lead. No, I did what I recommend you all do when confronted with the ugliness of the world. I drank until she was hot. That's right, friends. I sipped sweet Tennessee whiskey, and then I went to the restroom and turned it into foul Kentucky bourbon. Oh my gosh, that was a difficult game to watch. Tough. First drive out of the gates, the defense can't do anything. They can't even slow Kentucky down. Just straight down the field. Held the ball for the first 10 minutes of the game. And then what do the Vols do? 3 and out and a punt block. Before you can even blink, Kentucky's up 13-0. And Maurer, he started tonight, and he was rusty, to say the least. He still made some good throws, but it was definitely the right call in the second half to go to Jarrett Garantano. By far. I had said previously that every time Pruitt's been confronted with a truly one-dimensional offense, he's been able to shut it down. And that was, outside of the first series, that was sort of true. The defense really only gave up those 7 points. But the rest of the night, they did let Kentucky kind of run up and down the field, but to their credit, they stiffened in the red zone and did not give up points. Kentucky held the ball for 41 minutes of this game. That is domination. Domination everywhere except where it counted in the final analysis, the scoreboard. And I'm glad the Vols won because Coach Pruitt is starting to grow on me. And if there's one thing that's true about Tennessee football, if you lose to Kentucky, you've got to go. Tennessee's lost 2 of the last 35 to the Wildcats, and both those coaches were essentially dead men walking as soon as that game went final. But again, if you've watched Tennessee for any of the past decade or so, you kind of felt like it wasn't going to go the Vols' way. Especially in the fourth quarter, the Vols get the ball back with about 7.5 minutes left to go. You're really 3-4 first downs away from salting this thing away, or a touchdown away from really putting it on ice against what was a very limited Kentucky passing attack. They completed 4 passes for like 25 yards and an interception, which my heart hurts for Nigel Warrior. He really should have gotten that pick 6. That's unfortunate. But the Vols were also sloppy. They didn't block particularly well. The defense couldn't really stone Kentucky's running attack. Even though they really knew what was coming, there were 2 really good drives, both led by Garantano, that ended in touchdowns. But Kentucky's defense, not really good. The Vols could have and should have scored a lot more than they should. As I mentioned in the 7-minute drive there, if you score a touchdown there to go up 24-13, against this offense, you've really iced it. But what did Tennessee do instead? If you've been watching, they did the most Tennessee thing that they've done in a long time. They fumbled a handoff. It didn't just fumble it to where, you could fall on it and maintain possession. No, it just dribbled down the front of the running back, and he kicked it forward to a Kentucky defensive lineman. Could not do that again if he tried. It looked a little bit like maybe Garantano's casted hand was bothering him. It also looked a little bit on the replay like perhaps he expected the running back to be on the other side and he had to turn and adjust in a way he didn't really expect. But whatever the reason, the cast for Garantano was a big concern. That's why I thought he might not play this week, because Tennessee has been going on a clap count from the quarterback position. And on the road, that's a lot harder. On the road, that works. But Garantano, because of the cast, he can't clap. I don't know why Kentucky's coaches didn't pick up on this. I don't know why their fans didn't pick up on this. If a quarterback like that was coming into Neyland, we would have made it so loud that a vocal count would in no way have been possible. But they didn't. They let Garantano play the entire second half, and he really seemed to have no trouble getting the snap count out, and it worked really well. But this team is beat up. The bye week is coming at a great time. Beat up on both lines of scrimmage. Linebackers, Bryce Thompson, who had 3 interceptions last week, went out early. Daniel Batuli, who finished with a whopping 19 tackles in this game. He was banged up for a period of time, but not so much that he couldn't come back in and get the assist on the game-clinching sort of tackle on the goal line stand. This team needs to get well. This team needs to get its wind back, get its depth back, and be ready for a trip to Missouri in 2 weeks. I will be back later on next week to discuss Vols Murray State. I'm not going to do a preview. I'm just going to do talk about that one as it turns out. Should be a Vol win. I'm not going to go too deeply into it. Even with the flaws that I pointed out in the last video, Murray State is a team that Rick should handle. But big win for the Vols. Back to 500, 5-5. No one thought that was coming. 1 win away from bowl eligibility. 2 wins away from potentially a fairly decent bowl. I actually saw one journalist predicting Tennessee and Michigan in the I believe it's the Outback Bowl, the one that's in Jacksonville. That I would go to. That would be an intriguing matchup. Of course, that writer was basically expecting Tennessee to win out and Michigan to drop a couple. So there's a lot of ball left to be played, but that's the most intriguing matchup that I've seen prognosticated so far. Of course, should the Vols become bowl eligible, we'll start taking that a little more seriously. But one at a time. We've got Missouri coming up. There'll be a full preview. Missouri lost to Georgia tonight. It was not close. Kelly Bryant didn't play. They've got Florida next week. The Vols are off next week. They are precluded by the NCAA from going to the postseason, so they've really got nothing to play for. Kind of hoping they'll pack it in. Vanderbilt will pack it in. The Vols can get 2 relatively easy wins. A premier bowl matchup that will help recruiting. The extra practices will help the current team and the guys coming back. And we'll just have to see. But it was good to get a win tonight when it looked all the world in the first quarter, and then at the very end of the fourth quarter, like the Vols were going to either get blown out or find a way to blow it in heartbreaking fashion. But they didn't. Perhaps they've turned the corner. Perhaps, they got around their gaffes, and perhaps they will not, be losing games in that sort of fashion anymore. But anyway, next up, Murray State for the basket Vols, Missouri for the football Vols, and I gotta go turn some more whiskey into bourbon. Good night, everybody. Bodie!
I gotta be honest.